we have this great ADP with large employee staff and millions of dollars going into it. Why aren't we leveraging the alleged opportunities we have going online? What about doing surveys through the system to get public feedback? What about having meetings in the evening occasionally so more people can attend? I mean, there's a myriad of ways to adjust the people's desires and wants, and really they need a forum to speak out. And limiting it is not what our country is about at all. We should get as much feedback as possible. I do understand that there needs to be some control and some limits on what's going on, but it just seems like certain commissioners don't want to hear from the people, especially during a election cycle. And not only that, another thing that always makes me wonder is why, if the law enforcement is presenting something, I understand why you'll have sheriff deputies there, but it appears sometimes we have sheriff deputies there is to keep the peace. I've never seen anything get out of control at a commissioner session, but nonetheless, one could consider that intimidation tactic. So there are a lot of things going around with how the public interacts with the chief administrative officers of the county, which are the three commissioners.
You know, I'll pause to give credit where credit is due. You bring up a good point. I think to the average layperson going into that environment, it can and likely will feel intimidating. And remember, our guest yesterday was talking about training and helping people to feel comfortable with the prospect of approaching and speaking to our elected representatives. But venturing into that room, I want to paint a picture of what it's like, because there should be a lot more people comfortable approaching that microphone and advocating for themselves. There are sheriff's deputies. I'm going to chime in from a lot of personal experience. My interactions have actually been very positive. They do not, in my book, represent intimidation. And I know a couple of instances where they were asked to be there specifically. So there's a delicate balance. We do want accessible government that we can speak with, but we also want a safe environment that protects people, citizens, and our elected representatives. But getting back to kind of the timing and circumstances, I'm aware of some statements specifically directed toward Commissioner Brakey that may be highly controversial and may be very, very inflammatory. But let's be clear about our First Amendment rights. If you approach elected representatives, it's crystal clear in court cases, in Supreme Court rulings, you have very clear protected rights to say whatever is on your mind, whatever is on your heart, when you approach those commissioners. So the fact that some things were said specifically of Commissioner Brakey, and their controversial topics, and then in the following week, Commissioner Brakey and Commissioner Dvorak worked to silence the people. That's not a good look. Don't you think, Steve?
I think it's a foolish move made by them. I don't understand why they did it, other than they said they wanted to quash some maybe dissent. But you know, we get quite an eclectic group of people that speak. We've had a gentleman the last two sessions who spoke to illegal immigration and our detention in the safety center of ICE detainees, which most jails will do. And I don't see an issue with the sheriff's office doing that. It's temporary. It's to assist the federal authorities in managing the program. So, but nonetheless, if this is the only venue you can speak to and get concerns to the public, really, because the meetings are on the website, if they're in good shape, sometimes they come out a little choppy and all that, but it's ability to share with the county and the greater region at large what's going on in Geauga. And like I said earlier, NOACA is a theme that people are concerned about, and it's really concerned about external forces impacting our Geauga County. But I think people forget, including those sitting up on the dais, that they represent the people. It's not about power, it's not about them, although ego overwhelms everything almost in this county, and that needs to be addressed in the future.
Yep.
We've got a lot of people who think they're the big fish in the small fishbowl, and are running unchecked, usurping the power of the county commissioners to make things happen in the county that are not necessarily in line with what the county wants. You know, one of the biggest things that's going on right now that just started is people in the auditor's office want to unionize. I've seen some documentation on that. It's very interesting. The timing of it's very interesting. The reason given to unionize, I don't understand. I'm not pro or anti-union. My dad was a steel worker. There's a place for unions, but I'm hard pressed in the public sector to see for unions coming out of the blue at this day and age.
So, if you don't mind, let me jump in and weigh in a little bit, because as a county commissioner, although we're going to be come up on a break, so I want to speak on the other side of the break. We always had an open public forum when I was a commissioner. Now, the meetings are for conducting public business, and so you can't let the public, you know, you got to have time to do the public business. If the public comment overtakes the entire meeting, you can't conduct your public business. Some counties, Lake County being one, has a special meeting set up every week in which the public can just come in and comment if they want to. So there's various ways to handle public comment, but we used to always allow open comment, and there was no time period and so forth, no time limit. And I see us come up on a break, so Jonathan, why don't you take us into the break, and I'll finish up when I come out the other side.
All right, remember, you can join the conversation by dialing in 440-946-9468 or comment on Rumble, Facebook, or YouTube. We do have some comments. Actually, one of them looks like it's one is directed toward open conversation and Steve Olowich, and one appears to be questioning my comments about safety in those meetings. So we'll try to lend some clarity when we come back on the other side of the break. Also, keep in mind, you can stream this by going to voiceofgeauga.com or wintradio.com. We've gotten some comments that the audio is bad on some microphones. You can stream there for better audio. More on the other side of the break.
He got Trojan football. He got walking finger. It's Coca-Cola.
Mics are out. Audio is only bad on the live streams, or is it bad coming from the radio, did they say?
It's only bad on the live streams. The radio quality is really good. All the mics are equal and sound good. Right now for this week that Skip is in Arizona, Skip's mic is good. Mine and the guests are tinny and distant. So the audio quality is bad except for Skip's microphone.
As it should be.
That's what I've heard before. So you're still hearing us on live stream. If that's still the case, feel free to comment. We do track those things, and we're continuing to work on the technology that we use in order to deliver the very best experience to you, not just the radio audience. We have an advantage on the radio side, and, well, namely that advantage is named Thomas. Thomas and a soundboard is able to clean up the audio that goes out over the airwaves. So that side of things we know is very, very good. We have some feedback I've gotten several times on the audio quality on the live stream. So just know that we continue to work on that. I'm not sure that it would sync up and maybe a little off timing, but if you wanted to see what's happening on social media, but maybe hear a little clearer, if you have any problem hearing us at all, it is an option to stream the audio separately. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. And we've got some very interesting comments in...
30 seconds till we're back, 30 seconds.
All right. I've got some... why is our IT department en route to become a union? That is a really important question right now, considering...
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Voice of Geauga on WINT Radio with Skip Claypool, myself, Jonathan Broadbent, and returning guest Stephen Olowich. Mr. Olowich is a candidate for county commissioner, and at the heart of what we're talking about today is representative government. If you'd like to feel that you are an American citizen with representative government and the ability, at least the prospect, of going and speaking to the people who hold office and seeking accountability and transparency, then one of your primary rights, and I dare I say obligation, is to go and have the opportunity to express your concerns to the county commissioners. If that's limited, and the more limited it becomes, the less voice we have. That's just general truth. Steve, we've got some very interesting comments here. I want to drill down for a moment on one in particular that has to do with what we in Geauga County call our ADP department, and I'm wondering if you have an opinion on this. It is the ADP department, which falls under the auditor's office, the county auditor, that is seeking to unionize. And the timing of that, in my book, is very suspicious because a lot of us are calling out the size and the amount of money and power and the staff. It seems huge. And right as we're calling it out and calling attention to it and asking for transparency, they're trying to unionize. What do you think, Steve?
I would just be surmising what it could be about. From what I've seen and what I've heard, the employees are afraid for their future in the department. And I'm not sure what that even means, if it means pay, if it means their positions. But I think this goes to a larger point, not just in ADP or the auditor's office, but there's a certain malaise and melancholy in the county with the county employees. You could feel it. There's a sense of fear. And, there's an old saying, the fish stinks from the head. So there's a problem with leadership in the county, which is promoting an atmosphere of fear among the employees. And it's just not a perception, it's reality. I mean, let's face it, when Carolyn Brakey came on board, the very first action she took was to not renew the contract of an 18-year employee, her and Jim Dvorak. 18-year employee, county administrator, never had a derogatory report, never had an evaluation as an employee. That should concern the county voters. And they let him go as if he was a piece of trash. 18 years of experience. Professional engineer, has his JD. Now, if they could do that to him, they can do it to anybody in the county. And there are several other people that have left. I could talk Roger Peterson, I could talk Glenn Vernick, and they didn't leave because they just wanted to leave. They were coerced out, whether it was through the commissioner's office or the other outside offices on the Hill. There's a lot of bad blood that has to stop. It has to stop. The climate in the county needs improvement, and employees should feel safe in their positions. There's a reason why they were hired. They were hired to do a job. Let's let them do their job, help them where they need help, and leverage their strengths, because they all bring strengths to the fight. So I'm an advocate for retaining employees. I could tell you when I was the director of water resources, one of our major goals, and that was my guys were unionized. It wasn't a problem. Our biggest goal was to retain the experience and really the morale within the department, which we were very successful at doing that. I don't know what's going on over. You can get the rumor control officer out here to talk all you want about what's going on in other departments, but in other offices in the county. But I just don't like what I see. I don't like what I hear, and I hear from a lot, having worked for the county for 5 years. I know quite a few, many employees in the county, both at management level and worker level, and there is a certain sadness that we need to get rid of that. The voters shouldn't be supporting leadership that fosters an atmosphere of fear and hesitancy. Plus, it drives away good people.
So, Steve, I've got
a. We saw in the next 6 months more people leave.
Steve, I've got a question for you, but first I want to make want to put out a request or make an offer to Carolyn Brakey and to Jim Dvorak. They're always welcome on this program to address, and we'll probably send them a communication so that they know that they're welcome to come on and answer some of the questions that people have and address some of the questions that we have and some of the things that we're talking about. But
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of open questions. I know as I've attended the meetings and people have tried to speak up in the meetings, they've been interrupted and disrespected in the meeting, and that never occurred and again, when I was a commissioner, we always allowed people to speak no matter what they had to say and let them finish, and then we would address whatever their concern happened to have been. But Steve, here's a question for you. So outside of some of this turmoil that we're seeing right now, it's interesting. It seems to be some chaos, and I remember somebody saying they wanted to reduce the chaos when they got elected. But there's quite a bit of chaos right now. But if you get elected, when you get elected, let's say, what would you like to see changed in the county outside of the stuff that we're talking about now?
Well, immediately I'd like to bring a different atmosphere to the county. I'd like to be much more engaged with our employees. I'd like to do some really, really incisive research on what's going on. You know, the devil's in the details. We can make broad statements about this and how much money's being spent. You know, sometimes money's being spent because it needs to be spent. Okay, that's the way it is. I mean, we have to upgrade equipment and material, and we have new vehicles, but nonetheless, we never talk about the details. And, you know, 27 years in the Army, and I'd like to share this. It was never the big thing that got soldiers killed. It was the little things that we never checked. Digging into the details, doing the routine checks and services. That's how people were killed. Soldiers were killed. Wasn't necessarily in combat, but not taking care of what we have. You know, one of the things I'd like to see in the county, you know, there are three pretty much major bullet points that I'm running on: affordability, eliminating fiscal waste, and restoring authority to the citizens, which means getting the commissioners back in the saddle and making them do their job, doing our job if I'm lucky to be there. But for example, we have a lot of equipment across this county, from townships to county level, county engineer, so on and so forth. We're being prohibited from sharing equipment, if you can believe that, paid by the taxpayer. Supposedly there's a law out there that won't let the county engineer use equipment to help clean the airfield or help the townships with roads or whatever. That to me is outrageous.
Yeah.
That's out of the prosecutor's office. If the law says that, then we need to change the law. Laws change. I mean,
Yeah, I don't.
we live in a republic.
I don't recall that because we used to, when Joe Cattell was the county engineer, share equipment with the townships.
This is a relatively recent enforcement of interpretation of the law. So instead of utilizing the experienced county employees to do things, you have to use contractors outside just because, you know, it's illegal.
So,
Well, you know, leaders get paid to make decisions, and if you live by the regulation, you're going to die by the regulation. Leaders are getting paid to make decisions, and if they're good decisions, then make that decision on behalf of the public and saving money. It's a lot more reasonable to use assets we have on the ground, experience we have inherent in the county, and use them elsewhere to help our fellow county employees and offices and agencies. So there just seems to be this malevolence of trying to hinder progress, trying to make things work right. And again, this is just for me on the outside looking in. I've been out of the county government for about 2.5 years, but there's so much low-hanging fruit that we can grab and improve things in the county.
it sounds like it's
goes a long way.
Steve, drilling down a little bit on that specific topic, is that universal throughout Ohio, this new law or this new interpretation of an existing law, or is that specific to Geauga County, that our county has interpreted a law to mean that those types of equipment can't be shared?
Well, I don't know about the rest of the state. You know, each county is unique in some way, right? And in some counties, the ADP reports directly to the commissioners as a separate IT department. In some counties, it's in the auditor's office. And I know that we used to share equipment. I know that for a fact. My department, we used to help townships. We actually would share between counties equipment if for example, well, let me just pull this out of the air. If one of the western or eastern parts of Cuyahoga, one of their big pump trucks went down, they could call over, and if we had one available to help them out, we would help them out, and then vice versa. It's very smart, it's very conducive to smooth operations, it builds relationships, practicing relationships, and you can draw on a broader group of people, broader group of experience, and it builds a camaraderie within certain disciplines and fields.
Well, for heaven's sakes, it works all the time with police and fire.
Absolutely.
If it works for police and fire, it should work for other divisions of government as well. Absolutely.
You know, you have quite a bit of experience.
Question here in Rumble from Gardens of CH. Key word is leverage. Leverage has made Trump a success. Steve has ideas as to how to use leverage that we may not know we have. Could he elaborate a little more?
Well, most certainly, especially in the world of construction, roads, ditch cleaning, we see that every spring going on when engineers out there, or the state. Remember, we have state roads, we have county roads, we have township roads, but we also have other infrastructure at various political levels in the county and in the state. But working together.
I'm sorry, Steve, I have to interrupt right there. We have a break coming up. Join the conversation at 440-946-9468. When we come back from the break, we'll finish that answer from Steve about using leverage in Geauga County.
Mics are off, mics are off.
All right. So I'm going to answer a question here for One Concrete. One Concrete was asking what sort of personal attack on Breaky, and how does that represent an unsafe environment? My intention was not to say that comments made in that meeting were in any way, shape, or form unsafe. Actually, the opposite. We have every right to make every comment and ask any question that may occur to us when we approach that microphone. And specifically, that was a question about Breaky Energy and whether or not there may be conflicts of interest.
I'm not going to talk to that. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I'm not asking you questions about that. Just clarifying for our audience my position and the comment that I made. So the question was asked at the microphone at an open meeting. It's on record. It's now public record.
Yep.
Somebody asked about Breaky Energy, and the point that I was making is that in the very next meeting, the ability of the public to comment was limited, and at its face, I'm not speaking to whether or not a conflict of interest exists. I'm saying that on its face, at the very next meeting, for Breaky to be involved in trying to limit public comment is completely untoward. It is completely unacceptable that those two were so close together in timing. It makes the office look very suspicious. That's all I'm saying. That is not an accusation. I would personally like to know more. I've been asked many questions about Breaky Energy and whether or not it's involved. I have no answer at this time. It sounds like Steve is not commenting on that. I don't blame him. But that is a question that people should be able to approach the microphone in commissioners' meetings and ask without feeling that there may be some rebuke in the following meeting. Oh, anyway, I wanted to clarify that. You're right, Skip. There are some really good comments in here and some questions. Steve, when we come back, we've got a question from One Concrete asking if you've thought of making public records requests. Why wouldn't you do so before getting in office through things like NOACA, ADP, etc.? And maybe you could use some of that to campaign on. Is that a thought that's occurred to you and your campaign team?
Well, it has, but information requests are just that, the request. You don't know when you're going to get them, and I can't tag those to my campaign planning. It's very difficult to do that. I'm banking on my experience of having worked at the county for almost 5 years, and talking to people that still work there. But right now, I'm pretty consumed with family life and with working. I'm not a politician. See, that's one of the key points I hope the listeners and the voters understand. I'm not a politician. I could be terse and I could be gruff, but it was always followed up by a smile. We have to have a good, what we used to call command climate in the county, and people want to come to work. If you're driving to work in the morning and it's the low point of your day, that's a reflection of leadership in the county. That shouldn't be that way.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
Oh, I thought I was on.
Oh, well, you sort of are. For the podcast audience, the
I
podcasters.
do want to get a chance to talk about veterans a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Veterans.
10 seconds, 10 seconds.
Welcome back to Voice of Geauga on WINT Radio. While we were on break, Steve Olowich made an interesting comment, and this, I think, goes back to all of the years of experience he had in the Army. And you can't see it right now if you're just listening. He has a baseball cap on that relates to the Army Corps of Engineers. And those are the people, the really, really smart people that do really smart things to make our military as efficient and the lean, mean fighting machine that it is. But well, a few things. We've got some great comments in Rumble, but the comment that Steve made during the break relates to command climate. And that's a very compelling term, command climate. Steve, will you go back to that and for our radio listening audience define what a good command climate is?
A good command climate, to borrow a phrase from the military, is a working environment where people don't dread coming to work every morning. If there are people, whether workers, managers, directors, or elected officials coming into work and it's the worst part of their day, then there's a problem with the leadership in the county. And it exists today. It does exist. From personal conversations. People are in fear. People are afraid to even talk to me when I'm in the county building because they might be affiliated with me all of a sudden, which is just outrageous. I'm a citizen just like anyone else. But, you know, leaders do that by talking, by having what we used to call open door policy, being accessible to employees, not being afraid to offer feedback or grab one in the hallway and say, hey, you know, Steve, you know, we're having this challenge here, you know, can you help? People don't do that now. It's pretty amazing what's going on. And if the voter, which I wish our Geauga citizens would try to come in and see some of these meetings. You know, if I get into office, we're going to make it more accessible. I think the meeting room where the sessions are held today are a little smaller. I think we're going to have to look at the size of the rooms and not have overflow rooms. We need to have an open forum where people feel free to come in when their opportunity is to speak and speak. And you know what? Maybe get an answer from the commissioners instead of them looking at them like sheep in the deer lights. Not dare answer a question because they might be teased out on something. That's no way to go. It builds this, it fosters this animosity at times, and it fosters this they're hiding something from us. And that's just human nature.
So you bring up a good point on the overflow rooms. And there have been a few times where there's been huge public outrage over some issue. It was just over a year ago, the issue with the dog warden in Geauga County was a flashpoint. And a lot of people were very passionate about that because you're talking about hopefully a no-kill environment for dogs. That was meaningful to people, important, and they needed to have opportunity to come in, express themselves, and assert their objectives. And recently, it's been NOACA. A lot of people have shown up, and going back to the statement that you released and those moves made by Commissioners Dvorak and Brakey to limit public access and public comments it's the opposite. So it sounds to me like what you want to do is open up and have the county commissioner's office more accessible to the people. Right, Steve?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to turn it to the White House of the late 1700s and early 1800s where anyone could walk into the White House and talk to the president. Not that open, but I do really believe we should have scheduled office hours. I believe that having more meetings, whether they're in session, working sessions, or whether they're just public meetings. Public meetings can become quite interesting. When I was the director of water resources, I had several public meetings, and they can get very contentious because people want their concerns addressed. And you can't have fear of your citizens. You can't shut down. You have to answer questions. You have to be honest, transparent, and sometimes you have to say, I don't know, I'll get you the answer, or I'm sorry, we have to do this, here's why, X, Y, and Z. It's called moral courage, right? Because, my mom used to always tell me, lies and secrets don't get better in time. I always said in the Army, there are no such things as secrets. Someone out there knows what's going on, and those come out. And when they do come out eventually, it can be very damaging. The best policy is a policy of honesty, transparency, and openness. And we got to work on that. We really have to work on that in the county. Now, if I'm not mistaken, ADP used to have meetings. Well, they have meetings, and they used to have them online. Those no longer exist. My question is why?
Yeah.
Why aren't they talking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars they're spending and the empire building going on over there?
So there's two things that I think kind of point to an area that you might see as an opportunity to improve. The prosecutor's office came in and made a request here a few months ago for $400,000 to do remodeling. That's a lot of money to remodel an office, and there was no explanation about the scope of that work. I mean, we don't know whether the $400,000 is appropriate.
I was at that meeting.
Was it appropriate or not appropriate, because we don't have any idea about what's in that plan. And so it was just a simple, oftentimes the commissioners will make a one-line resolution, approve the prosecutor to spend $400,000 to remodel the office without any explanation. Well, that creates suspicion when you do that. Same thing with ADP. Commissioner Spitaleri pointed out that ADP's budget has gone through the roof, increased by 30%, the number of employees have gone up, salaries have gone up significantly. And so some citizens spoke out about that. Commissioner Spitaleri spoke out. You would think that maybe there would be a special commissioner's comment on that to kind of address that, to get people comfortable that that's something inappropriate's not going on. And so I'm going to, that's not a question, but I'm just giving you an opportunity to maybe comment on that a little bit, because you've got a lot of experience in managing budgets, and you know how that works.
Yeah, no, I've managed a lot of budget. The interesting thing, the water budget, water department I had, we were enterprise. We received it was like running an independent business. It operated on revenues collected from system users. We didn't get any tax money unless there was some like ARPA money for construction, so on and so forth. So I ran my own budget there. But I think to capture the essence of what I'm trying to portray today, we have the absence of trust across so many offices in the county and with the public. There's an absolute absence of trust, and that breeds discontent. That breeds hostility, not in the sense you would need police or anything, but aggravation towards politicians, which is sort of rampant in the U.S. today. You only have to look at what's going on in D.C. and internationally. That the trust is so rampant and being fed by things that we've been talking about this morning, and damaging to the public trust. The taxpayers, and I don't like using that term, let's say our residents, our citizens, they're paying for this. The commissioners, all the directors, all the offices on the Hill in Chardon, they're paying these offices to do their job. So they should be doing the best to be efficient, cooperative, transparent, communicative. All aspects of the county should work together like a fine machine, and it doesn't.
That sounds perfectly wonderful.
You don't allow townships, or you don't allow infrastructure like the airfield to ask to use equipment or ask another agency to come help, and they get paid for it. This is not freedom. That department will reimburse, say, the commissioner's office or the water department or the engineer's office when they're out there doing something. It's not a free thing, but it leverages assets we already have, okay?
Yep.
I can tell you right now, the water department had 2 industrial electricians. If they weren't busy on a water plant or a sewage plant doing work, they were available to help other offices in the county. That makes common sense. Why would you bring in a contractor when you already have the resources available to you? Why would you do that?
That
on a
sounds like,
short-term basis. Of course, we need contractors to do some of the major work and so on. That's part and parcel of the business. But I don't know. I think we're not thinking out of the box. I think we're just, people in certain positions are just thinking about themselves. I don't know what power they get out of it. Maybe it's ego-driven. But I could tell you what, 27 years in the Army, your ego gets crushed pretty quick because everyone has a boss. And the only thing that drives anything is the mission. And the mission of the county employees and the political offices are to serve the county. And that's where I have a real issue with.
it sounds like some people have lost sight of that. Their job is to serve the county. And it sounds like what you're describing, Steve, at a high level is a rising tide raises all boats. And that's how people in office in Geauga County should be thinking, and many apparently aren't. A few things we want to point out once again for Voice of Geauga. If you were one of those people that is serving in public office and feel fearful and feel that something isn't right in the office, think of Voice of Geauga as a whistleblower outlet. Contact Voice of Geauga and let us know what you're seeing on the inside. Let us know what's happening, and we'll help to get voice out. There is an important question to interject here, Steve. Let's say we've got some listening audience who's hearing from Steve Olowich and thinks, boy, I like this man. I want him for office. How do people find your campaign and get involved?
So, of course, now we're within the 60-day window of the primary. It's on May 5th. I hope registered voters get out there and vote in the primary. You can find out about me on my website, Steve, Steve, the number 4, Geauga.com. It actually has my biography and CV on there. You got to click on it. It gives you a wealth of information about me and my background and some of the interesting things I've done before I decided to run for office. You can also go to my Facebook. So I'm on Facebook. A lot of things going on. If you really want to learn about me and come meet and greet, I'm having a fundraiser at Veteran Legacy Woods, and that's on March 19th from 5:30 to 8 o'clock, and we'll be there, and come talk with me, and we can tell jokes, or you can really ask me some pointed questions.
We're coming up on a break, so I need to step in right there. We're going to come back with more from Steve Olowich on the other side of the break.
Mics are off. Mics are off.
All right, good. So, Skip, you said Tim Lennon for Monday morning, right?
Yep.
Tim Lennon is coming back, and we will plug that. And I'm going to say once again, Steve, give me the date of your fundraiser. It's
March 19th. It's a Thursday.
March 19th at Veterans Legacy Woods at 6 p.m.?
I have on my flyer 5:30 to 8.
Oh, 5:30 to 8. March 19th, Veterans Legacy Woods. And Veterans is a note that I have here. I want to make sure to cover the veterans.
I want to talk to that for at least a second, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When we come back.
How's it going, Skip? Things going well?
Things going well where?
Well, here, on this thing.
Oh, yeah,
What
yeah.
we're doing this for.
Yeah. It's going well.
We've got growing audience. There's a lot of conversation that takes place on a daily basis in the live chat and Rumble. I do, listening audience, skim through this regularly. I apologize if I'm not able to get it or just don't notice a question or comment. I try to grab the ones that I can and get questions answered from our guests. There is a great comment here. Let's see, we've got Darafy says, it just looks like Steve will be a great replacement. He has my vote. We just need to take a look at Breaky, effectively the comment there. Breaky and Dvorak are completely insensitive to the appearance of impropriety.
Yeah.
That appears to be the case, and that is just, it's jaw-dropping to me that people are getting elected into public office and collect an income off taxpayer backs and don't address those and are concerned, apparently, about the appearance of impropriety. Maddening.
Well, Well, it's crazy. And you know, you can't blame some people. They're apathetic to the whole political process because they're disgusted by it or because they're just, why bother? I won't make a difference. But I wish people would become more interested in local politics because all politics is
30
local.
seconds, 30 seconds.
Yeah, all politics is local. Absolutely. All right, so that's you said 5:30 to 8 or 8:30?
Yeah, 5:30 to 8:30. 5:30 to 8. 5:30 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seconds, 10 seconds.
Our listening audience may have a problem with that. But.
Welcome back to Voice of Geauga on WINT Radio with Skip Claypool, myself, Jonathan Broadbent, and returning guest Steve Olowich. Before we went to the break, Steve Olowich mentioned that there is a fundraiser for his campaign at Veterans Legacy Woods on March 19th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. Go and find out more. Meet Steve in person. Get your questions answered. And speaking of questions, I see a few people commenting in here now that the weather's breaking. They want yard signs. People want to put out messages about the people they're supporting. Where will people find
You
those?
want yard signs? I got yard signs.
Where will people find those highly sought after Steve
Well,
Olowich signs?
If you go to my website and just contact, and I'll get you signs. I'll get you signs. To be honest with you, we have a whole campaign plan to put signs out. You'll start seeing them pop up like mushrooms here in the next 10 days.
Well, they're beautiful mushrooms, I think.
The weather has been conducive to going out and putting signs up. So
Yeah, not with all those feet of snow. Speaking of veterans, that's a great opportunity to ask you what's going on with the veterans in our community, Steve.
So, many people that know me, I'm very involved in the veterans community, having retired from the Army after 27 years. And we have several veterans organizations in Geauga County that if any of my soldier brother and sisters or airmen, Marines, Squids, Navy, Coast Guard, they should get involved because we really are a force of nature within the county. A lot of volunteers are veterans. We have the Veterans of Foreign Post 6519 that's in Chardon. It's right across the street from Sage's Apples. We have Middlefield VFW 9678, and that's near the crossroads in Middlefield at the bottom of a church. Both of them have facilities to go in, have a drink, and maybe a snack. They're open to the public. It's not a private club, so if you want to go to the Chardon and have a burger on Thursday night, supposedly best burgers in town, you can go there and have that, enjoy the ambiance and the military flavor. We also have American Legion 167, which is out of the Chardon VFW post. We meet there every third Thursday. The VFW meets on the first Thursday of the month. And then we have the American Legion 663 in Newberry. Very active posts. They have pig roasts, so on and so forth. Veterans are out and about. You see us all the time with our hats. And we got a lot of great stories to share with you. Last, we also have an American Legion in Burton that does pancake breakfast. We're about ready in Chardon to finish up our best pancake breakfast in the county every Sunday at the VFW in Chardon pancake breakfast. And I'm sure the other ones are conducting. You can go online and you can find out. But come on out and support the veterans. And if you are a veteran, join up. We won't ask you to volunteer just yet.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity to go and thank a vet. Sit with, eat a beer, eat a burger, drink a beer with a veteran and thank them. Thank our veterans and mark your calendar, listening audience. We have Tim Lennon returning Monday morning. So former County Commissioner Tim Lennon will come, and I'm sure that he will provide some of his perspective on the County Commissioner's office as well.
Hey, Jonathan, we got Nikki Frenchko coming up on Wednesday also, running for Congress against Dave
good.
Joyce.
We do have a date for Nikki.
And so that'll be next Wednesday. She'll be here early in the morning, and so that should be great.
I can make a closing comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
So to the listeners, we have a wonderful opportunity to start turning the ship around in Geauga County, and adding some unique leadership skills and an attitude that fosters conversation, transparency, and a good command climate. Part of that is, not only am I running against an opponent, but Joe DeBoss is running for auditor, and it'd be a wonderful opportunity to do make some large changes in the county for the better, and remove some of these artificial obstacles that are created by egos.
Huh. You bring up a good point. I know Joe DeBoth. I think we have the ask out to him, or the offer, I should say, to join us on Voice of Geauga. So Joe DeBoth, if you're listening, we'd love to hear from you. Tell us about your campaign and the office that you're running for. And you're right, Steve. It is a constant process, just like building. I typically use the sports analogy, but just like military, you want the right man for the job in the right place at the right time. So getting people into office, and then, very importantly, accountability once they're elected, it is fundamentally critical. This goes back to the reason for Voice of Geauga and why we say government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I love the fact that you are so accessible, Steve. You've come on several times now and joined us on Voice of Geauga, answered our questions, and the vision that you have, I personally, I like a lot. It creates transparency rather than opaque, hiding things from the public.
Thank you.
We do have a few more minutes here. I want to just skim through my notes, make sure we covered everything. Is there anything, I would say, Steve, are there bullet points, and I'm not asking you to prioritize unless you've outlined them for yourself already, but does your campaign have a day one strategy? You want to accomplish these three things, they're mission critical.
Well, I could tell you I'm not going to do what happened in the recent past. I'm not going to be talking behind the doors and coming in and dictating people's lives and jobs. That's not for me to do. It's to come in to assess where we're at, get a little below into the facts, and start asking really direct questions in public. The public need answers. That's my number one goal when I get in there, and to stop some of the grandstanding in commissioner sessions, and to address people's concerns. I would assume that within 6 months of my term, they're 4-year terms. Within 6 months, we would be addressing some real issues that I do question how we're organized as a county, where offices are, where they are. Sometimes it's due to the OAC and the ORC, the Ohio Revised Code. You can't just do. We're not going to do Trump and swap out people and stuff like that. That makes no sense. That's chaos, disruption, and turmoil. We don't need that. We need to build an environment that people are happy to come in and say, this is where we can fix things. Steve and commissioners, what do you think? And you know what? You leverage success. You leverage positivity. If someone can't do the job, you help them do the job. And if they can't do that, then maybe they need to find another career. But there's a lot of pathways for success. It's just you got to take them. Based on my experience in the Army, and I spent 10 years overseas. I know how things are done in other countries. Let me tell you, there's no best place in America. Any of you out there, there is no better place in the United States.
Yep.
And we need to leverage that for me.
Yeah, and for future generations. We're coming up on the conclusion of the show. I want to thank Steve Olowich for coming in and joining us. And it seems to me there is a fork in the road here. We have clearly signs of people who've achieved office in Geauga County who have let their ego get in the way of their responsibilities to we the people of Geauga County. Steve represents, I think, a very refreshing change from that and bringing open, clear, calm competence to office. I wish you and your campaign the very best of luck. Remember, you can go to Geauga.com to find out more. You can ask for yard signs and track his involvement.
And there's a phone number on my website. You could just leave a message.
And with that, we've run out of time. Thanks, everybody.